Good morning, Mohammed. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, Mansoor. Yep. Good morning.
Hey, good afternoon, Samir. How are you?
Good afternoon, doing very well. How are you?
All right, good. We also have Mohammed on the call, one of the other experts. So Mohammed meet Samir, Samir meet Mohammed.
Hello. How are you, Samir?
Doing very well. Nice to meet you.
All right, so we'll give these guys 5 minutes, I guess. Let's see who dials in. I made sure to post it on WhatsApp as well as on Discord. So let's see. I think last time we had the session, there were 125 people. But I don't know how much or how many people are going to join today. But we'll see. So Samir, you do have the presentation, right? So you'll walk them through, and then Mohammed will join at the end to answer questions together with you. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm gonna go mute for a minute or two. I'll be back. Thank you, guys.
Certainly.
Hey, Samir. Can you guys see me?
Not yet.
Okay. All right, we'll give these guys a couple of more minutes to dial in. So far, we have 4 attendees, 2 experts, and 2 attendees. So let's see. Do you have the slides up? There you go. Assalamu alaikum, Mohammed. You're mute. You're mute.
Yeah. Now you can hear me.
Yeah, they're good to see you. I think
Yeah,
I
it's
think I
nice to see
saw
you.
you. I saw you, but I'm not able to recall exactly when. But your face, rings a bell. I've seen you somewhere.
Okay.
You graduated when in 2001?
It's 2000. At the end of 2000, we passed out. Yeah. So December 2000 was something we ended our session actually, and then we are coming over there in department for submission
Got
of
it.
our final year project or likewise, right? So yeah, it's
Mhm.
January, February till then, Feb
Okay,
2021, 2001, sorry. We
I
have
see.
been there till then. And
I
afterwards,
see.
I think I've been there for a couple of times over there. Uh, I believe there was some alumni being being gathered once, and then
Mhm.
nothing been happened, right? So yeah.
Okay, I see. Yeah, I mean, I remember I passed out end of December 98, but I started my job at ITIM, I think sometime 3 or 4 months before the end of semester. So I think I might have seen you during your first
Yes,
first
yes,
or
yes.
second year,
Absolutely.
because
Yeah,
BS guys used to come to our building for AS 400 sessions or whatever,
exactly.
right?
For
Yeah,
the lab
yeah,
work, actually, there were two
lab
labs,
work,
I believe. Yeah, there were two labs
right?
been there. Have been there. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. And I, and I remember the day when Bernie Saab shut down the lab because somebody stole the mouse.
Yeah, that's been happened. We can recall it, right? Absolutely, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay, awesome. So I think it's 12:05. So I think we can definitely start the meeting. We can record it and then post it so that others can benefit from this in the future. So thank you, Samir, and thanks to Mohammed for taking the time to dial in today. Uh, I definitely appreciate that, and others who are going to benefit from your experience, from your guidance, will definitely thank you. But the idea was, okay, kids, young professionals who are already in the industry, they need guidance as to, okay, if I want to embark upon Salesforce, if I want to pick Salesforce as my career choice or the field of career, so what should I do? What steps should I take? What is the guideline? Which role would be better for me? And how should I start, like day one onward, right? So this is where I reach out to Samir. I mean, Samir is my very, very close friend for the last like 10 plus years. And he's a consummate professional. And then I came to know about you, Mohammed, through Jamil. Jamil said really good things about you, that you are like the top guy and this and that. So I was like, okay, let me just bring these two experts together just to put some guidance for these young professionals out there, so they can do something, right? Make a more informed decision about their career moves. So having said that, I mean, I'll let you two introduce, and then Samir will take the lead. Go ahead, Samir.
Okay. So thank you everyone for joining. So I think a brief of what we are trying to do here was explained by Mansoor, so thank you, Mansoor. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give a really small intro of myself, then Muhammad, you can go ahead, you can give yours, and then we can go from there. Mansoor, are you going to be sharing the slides or should I?
I mean, please feel free to share the slides.
Okay, go ahead.
If you have.
All right, so so I'm just going to go ahead with myself. I'm Samir Hassan, and I work in the Salesforce domain. I'm currently in the healthcare sector, primarily working on the health cloud. I have been in Salesforce for, say, about 6 years now. Before that, when I started my career after my master's in 2007, I was in the .NET world, client-side technologies, JavaScript, SQL Server, the whole bundle, web app development, etc., until I got into Salesforce in, say, about 2016 or so, and then I just been here. Salesforce is my bread and butter. I really like it. I think it's a very it's a vast technology, and it's very deep. It's very interesting. But it has to offer a lot. That's the best part I like about it. So people could be having varying skill sets, but still find a spot in Salesforce where they fit in the best. So, and currently I work in the healthcare sector at a company called Ascension. They're the second largest private network of hospitals in the United States. I perform hands-on coding, I lead developers, I mentor them. I also take part in architectural sessions, part of the ARB board, etc., etc. So I'm going to go ahead and give it to Mohammed now.
Okay, thank you very much, Samir. So my name is Mohammad Asif. Obviously, I have a kind of background of more than 20 plus years in the software development sector, and likewise, right? So I started my Salesforce career in the year 2012, actually, January 2012, right? Before that, I was conventionally working in .NET, Java, C++, SQL Server, MySQL, all these stuff being carried out by me at that time. And afterwards, when I jump into the Salesforce, of course, I've been engaged with the other technologies as well. But yeah, Salesforce is now being something I have been carrying for more than 11 years, right? Right. I have been certified in most of the common uh, certifications that Salesforce have been providing. So yeah, and some expert levels certifications being done by me as well. Of course, I have been done many implementation, and you will go through this deck by Samir, in which you will find some of the clouds which have been offered. So some of the clouds I have already been implemented by myself, and yeah, there were me initially something when I started. It was like I said that it is a piece of cake, actually, Salesforce is like that. But yes, when I dive more into it as a product, it has been a very deep thing inside, right? You can do code, you can customize, you can configure it on your own way. And now it's been a platform, actually, So yeah, you will enjoy the things whenever they are available.
Excuse me, Mohammed. I'm not able to hear you, Mohammed. I'm
Yeah.
not able to hear you. Yeah,
Sorry,
now.
I was on mute now. So yeah,
Okay.
so Samir will continue the things whatever the Salesforce is providing, and of course the certification part that we will be covering in this session. So yeah, Samir, you can start off with, and yep, if there will be any question will come up, we will definitely respond accordingly. So yep, over to you, Samir. Yep.
Certainly, thank you. So first things first, is my screen viewable? Can everybody see my screen?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right, so let's begin. So this presentation is basically split into two parts. The first part will just generally quickly go over at an extremely high level about what Salesforce is about in case anybody needs a brief. And then we are going to quickly jump into the career path, right? And Mohammed, please chime in wherever you have any comments. So this is the part where we went through already. This is myself, this is Mohammed, and then let's continue over here. Salesforce, as many of you might just know, Salesforce itself, the company, has its main product as the Salesforce CRM solution, a cloud-based software as a service. You can read up more on what a CRM is for those who need to. There are also Salesforce itself has very good documentation on its website, on its the various portals that it has. So that will also provide insight about CRM technology in itself and the Salesforce CRM, the CRM offering from Salesforce. Again, with CRM, and again, CRM itself is an old technology, right? Salesforce is an industry leader. So, as you start your career, in case you haven't, or if you are already in the market, as you shift markets, as you go to different companies, different roles, different industries, as you build your career, and if you encounter places where there is a need for a CRM solution, Salesforce may or may not be the answer. It will, depend on market. It will depend on size, cost, how much the company is willing to go beyond standard functionality to do things. Is it limited in scope? Integrations, and of course, customizations. So the next screen sort of gives a little, elaborates a bit on what we are referring to over here. Here's Salesforce CRM. There's also Zendesk, Pipedrive. Oracle has an offering. Monday Sales CRM. From Business Weekly, they have kind of a rating for CRM software for 2022. And if we see this, they have their own perspective on what is best for small businesses, project management, visual sales pipeline. And you'll see a whole list over here. And this is subjective. Somebody could argue differently for these different types of businesses or scope, where somebody could say, well, no, not exactly Salesforce, but another CRM product is better for here. But this is the general analysis by expert analysts who review such CRM software. Why Salesforce an industry leader? Largest selection of targeted CRM products and customizable solutions. Salesforce offers many clouds that fit into many industries. Some are very focused. As I mentioned, these days I'm involved in the health cloud. So that cloud or module, if you will, if you're coming from an Oracle world, you will, there's a financials module, etc., etc. If you develop an analogy on the Salesforce side, when we say Salesforce, health cloud or service cloud or sales cloud, assume that these are different modules within the Salesforce world, which are targeted to specific businesses and industries. So Salesforce has done an excellent job of that. I was talking about the health cloud. Healthcare is a big sector where Salesforce is being utilized. So they came out with the health cloud that has automated processes and standard out-of-the-box functionality, which is geared towards typical health needs. And of course, customization that can be built on top of it to build on that. Sales, service, etc., etc. Single source of customer data, sure, but it also provides integrations, good integration solutions where you don't always want Salesforce platform to be your single source of data or source of truth. So, of course, in modern day and times, you have to have excellent seamless integration solutions so that your data can be retrieved and pushed from external sources, which are actually source of truths. Let's go next. Again, I talked about modules. These are cloud, sales cloud, service cloud. Sales Cloud, which is like, that is Sales Cloud is what is intertwined with the basic CRM concept of, um, you know, uh, generating sales, encouraging, promoting sales, improving it, streamlining it, opportunities, leads, and all the processes that go end to end from, following a lead all the way to, the completion of sales. So that's typically your Sales Cloud. Service Cloud will be where, you provide service to your customer base, and so on and so forth. There's marketing, which the name implies is focused on marketing. Here's Community Cloud, and that's actually the new word for it is Experience Cloud, but that's meant for a more public-facing interface, etc. And there are more. If we keep going through the various cloud offerings, there are even more. And here's Health Cloud, the one that I was mentioning earlier. And there's the AI-based cloud, which is Einstein. This just a screen gives a general sense of the type of UIs that you would see in various cloud offerings. Here's Commerce Cloud, where you can see some catalogs for products, typical dashboard, and some of these other snapshots also give you a sense of the type of reports and analysis that Salesforce provides out of the box and customized. This type of UI is very typical. A person whose bread and butter is Salesforce will most likely see this type of UI more than anything else. One of the builders in Salesforce, and down to career paths, which is really the main focus for today. Now, Salesforce, as I mentioned earlier, right, it's vast. It has a big chunk of the industry is now with Salesforce. That means it generates jobs that are just very many. As people who come from a technical background, we would of course be more geared towards the technical roles that are out there. But if in case now or over time your interest develops in roles or skill sets or areas or opportunities which are different than the typical roles that you see on the screen, or are a hybrid of them, or are in an area that is related to Salesforce, but may not be core technical work, there are those opportunities too. You will see that as you get in the Salesforce market, as you understand how Salesforce is utilized. Once you start making Salesforce your bread and butter. But since our presentation is geared towards the more technical areas, that's what we will focus on right now, right? So your typical roles being developers, administrators, architects, and then of course the more general term being Salesforce consultant, depending on the market or industry you end up. And some caveats before we begin, right? We are going to provide some suggestions on the certification paths, the timeframes, in a more kind of in a prescriptive manner, in a manner which is structured. This is based on what we think, based on our experiences, based on what we have seen other technical folks in the industry follow, along with typical recommendations by Salesforce, as per the knowledge that we have from Salesforce documentation and guidance, people who have been guiding technical areas, etc. But in actuality, and we are going to get into those prescriptions in the next slides, but if you get into the market, you may have to tweak it according to your situation, according to the type of roles that you get. Maybe you get into a type of role where the environment is somewhat slower. It's a slow-paced environment where the learning curve is such that it takes much longer to build upon your experience and go. So you will have to adjust accordingly. But this assumes that you are working, you're starting off in the Salesforce market in a somewhat dynamic environment where there are fast delivery turnaround times, and there is, if not a lot, but there's a reasonable amount of pressure to deliver to the client with good quality and good times, and there is enough customization going on, and there are enough out-of-the-box features that are being used. And so this assumes kind of a dynamic environment, um, um, with which we are suggesting this structured path. So I'm going to go ahead with Salesforce admin first. So a little bit of what this, what a Salesforce admin is, right? Your Salesforce admin is not just a person who's managing user permissions. He's not your, or he or she is not your typical, um, you know, person designated for creating user accounts and a bit of permissions, and that's it. In the Salesforce world, an admin is a really important person. Somebody who understands the platform, manages the user base at a very basic level, manages a lot of permissions, and the permissions and security in Salesforce is pretty deep. The admin will also understand the data model. They will also have a sense of what the schema is like, how the database is structured, how the relationships work. They are able to produce reports. They are able to generally have good answers on the features that Salesforce offers, whether it be the Sales Cloud, the Service Cloud, Experience Cloud, Marketing Cloud, Health Cloud, Einstein, depending on the clouds that are being utilized in the particular organization where a Salesforce admin is working, the person is expected to have a good sense of how what the offerings are. They are going to be able to back up, restore, um, refresh orgs, spin up new orgs, and then have them set up for users. They may even be involved in deployments and pushing metadata through the orgs. So an admin, when fully utilized by a company, and notice that I say when fully utilized because you will find different flavors of admins and the type of companies and how they look at Salesforce. Um, so the environment may vary, but a company that takes Salesforce seriously and understands how to make best of it will know that an admin can do much more than just creating user accounts and doing some very basic stuff. So it's an important role and something that many people who are getting into Salesforce will start off with. Even developers a lot of times actually are they are strongly recommended to at least go and do an administrator certification. If I remember correctly, and this is before my days of Salesforce, and I may be incorrect about this, but I think I'm pretty certain administrator was actually a prerequisite even for developers to do, and later on it probably became optional. But anyways, typical administrator certifications, the way we have structured this is that we have a certifications listed here. We have a suggested time frame and a description of what these certifications cover. If you want to start off with a Salesforce admin role, you will typically not be coding, though you may, but typically you would not be. right? And you will be focused on the areas that I described earlier. You will start off with your administrator certification. Suggested time frame, that's what you start with. Now, whether you do that before you actually get a job in the Salesforce market, or you start off as a Salesforce admin in the market, best to quickly get to your Salesforce certified administrator certification. It's You will get a feel of the Salesforce platform, and you will understand many of the things that I described earlier. And it's also a prerequisite for a whole lot of other certifications that Salesforce offers. So it's good to do that anyways. Once you complete this, and if you continue with your administrator role in the market, you can consider giving the advanced administrator, and that's to describe it as simply advanced platform features. You are in the same admin domain, except that now you are very easy and hands-on and understand the Salesforce CRM product very well. And so you now feel confident that you can go ahead with the advanced admin certification. You go ahead and you do that. Now comes Platform App Builder. Now I'll take a minute to describe what this is and why I have listed it over here. If you want to remain a core admin, and then basically this is where you could, if you choose to, you could basically stop at number 2. However, a lot of us want to grow in our careers. We want to keep going ahead. We want to offer to the Salesforce market, to the industry, to our organization, to our team, to our environment, much more than our basic skill sets. We want to grow in it. We want to milk, use our skills to milk Salesforce off, and then provide those benefits for the sake of our career growth and for the sake of the development of the market or the organization where we work for. Platform App Builder is basically where you start getting into solution or application building in Salesforce. Now, let me take a step back. When Salesforce, in the Salesforce, on the Salesforce platform, as with many other technologies and platforms, you have your data side, you have your application side. Your data side is your database world. Your application side is just that. You build applications that utilize that data for the sake of your for fulfilling business requirements. Right? On the application side, not on the data side, on the application side, we have 2 ways of setting up the applications in Salesforce. One is one is the using out-of-the-box features that Salesforce provides, which we Salesforce application builders, we say using declarative programming, we can utilize those features and set up applications. Notice in parentheses I have over here, point and click, minimal to no code. So that's what it is. A big thing that Salesforce markets to its to potential customers, and not wrongly, is that Salesforce actually has a very strong and deep and a variety of out-of-the-box features which can simply be utilized using declarative programming tools to set up applications with that may not utilize any code whatsoever. And and there are various tools for this. This flow builder, this process builder. The process builder is going to get retired, but flow builder itself is very strong and it's improving even more. And there are workflows. There are many more things that are there, but declarative programming is basically encompassing all of these types of tools which require minimal to no code, or probably just no code. Platform App Builder certification is doing that. It's basically focused on declarative programming, and it goes deeper into the data model also. So if you're a Salesforce admin, you want to start building applications in Salesforce using the Salesforce platform, a very good transition is to do the Platform App Builder and provide that benefit to the organization you work for. Now, another note that I have over here, and this is optional, right? Like, do more certifications that apply to the industry or domain you get employed in. You'll figure this on the job. It depends on the market you go to. Like I said earlier that I work for the healthcare sector. So for me, it makes sense to learn more about the health cloud. You might be going in a market where they use MuleSoft as an integration tool from Salesforce, to elsewhere. You could consider, maybe learning about MuleSoft and doing MuleSoft certifications that are out there. So these type of certifications you will figure out as you get in the market. But if you're an admin and you want to grow as an admin, our prescription would be to basically follow this path. You'll learn more and more about this as you dive into the Salesforce documentation. There's a lot out there on certifications, but this is generally what you are going to see. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead with Salesforce Developer, right? Salesforce Developer. What do you do? Mainly, you are a developer. You are hands-on with code. You are excited about code. You you are thrilled at the idea of utilizing whatever is there in the programming paradigm on the Salesforce platform and how to use those technologies to achieve the customizations that the business expects of you, right? Or you have been asked to set up a solution, set up an application which is going beyond out of the box features. So a note on that, right? As a Salesforce developer, and I'm deviating a little bit, but I would like to say this. As a Salesforce developer, you write code, you are thrilled about customization. However, for all the right reasons, you as a developer are also familiar with all the out-of-the-box offerings from Salesforce for declarative programming, which is what I was referring to over here, Platform App Builder. That's the certification which focuses on that. You are already familiar with that. That's what as a developer you should know. Why? Because you should not jump to customization right away if something can be done out of the box. That's just conventional wisdom. That's just a no-brainer. You can set up a solution quickly. You can it's like a website, right? I mean, there are a whole lot of website builders that are out there. You would want to utilize those before going ahead and embarking on a journey of complicated HTML, right? So that's a similar analogy over here. If there is something that can be set up using declarative programming, point and click, no code, go ahead, use that. You should have knowledge of that as a coder. And if something cannot be achieved, then you resort to customization. And maybe it could be a hybrid, a lot of times it is a hybrid. Half of the time I'm developing hybrid solutions where I'm using declarative products built by declarative programming flows, and then I utilize these lightning components. Mohammed would be familiar with that, to basically be made part of the flow to have this ultimate solution that is built using declarative as well as code. So just a caveat on that. You use object-oriented technology, which is in Apex. Apex being the name of the programming language, which is proprietary to Salesforce. That's the O language that you use. And then there's the other side, which is, you use Lightning frameworks and Lightning web components, etc., which are basically JavaScript and HTML, and they follow an MVCC pattern, working with the server side, which is Apex, as I described, to build these grand solutions, which are customized. What is the path for that in terms of certification? Platform App Builder is the same certification that I described here, something that an admin would transition to if they want, and start utilizing their skills. But even as a developer, as a coder, this is where you start from. So you know well how to um, have have your declarative programming skills in place. Know how to address those using how to utilize the out-of-the-box features. You would then you can then you start with that, and again, I wrote 0 to 1 year for platform developer 1, but it could depend on your situation. Suppose you are in a market and a city and a place where giving certifications before has more value. Employer could be impressed by a couple of certifications that you have on there already before you apply to your first job. So by all means, go ahead and do these. But in an ideal world, you would be, familiar with the development paradigm in Salesforce. You would have started a job. You would have, you are starting to learn the Apex language and the other programming technologies. You are utilizing that. You have started to build applications, and along the way, you can go ahead and give your platform developer 1 certification, which basically covers it's heavy into Apex, which is something which is probably the most important technology in the Salesforce developer world. There are, you know, there are many concerns in the Salesforce environment when it comes to customizing, writing code. You have to take care of things that are limits in the cloud environment, which we refer to as governor limits. You have to bulkify code, etc., etc. So these are just deeper concepts, but it goes into platform developer 1 goes into that. So a must do for a developer is platform developer 1. My suggestion is to go ahead and also give your JavaScript developer 1, which is as the name suggests, it's basically JavaScript. But why is Salesforce having this certification at the first place is because JavaScript is what is used in Salesforce technologies such as LWCs, such as Lightning Web Components. The client-side controller makes use of JavaScript. And so the better your skills are at JavaScript, on the front end side and implementing the the model view controller structure, you would be doing. You'll be faced with a lot of JavaScript. So it would be a good certification to do. My suggestion would be to go ahead and do that as well. Now, your developer, you are very hands-on now with code. You have built applications for your organization. You are liking it. Now you want to move ahead, go at a more advanced level, transition, move ahead. You go ahead and give your platform developer 2, right? Again, I've put in a suggested time frame of 1 to 2 years. Like I had mentioned earlier, as one of the caveats, this is assuming that you are building applications. You're delivering. You are coding day in and day out, right? It's a dynamic environment. So that's why which is what this suggested time frame assumes. In your world, in your real world scenario, in what you actually end up facing, this time frame may be different. It may arrive early, it may arrive later. So I'm going to leave it at that. That's a judgment call that you can make. But platform developer 2 areas, advanced Apex and data modeling. You start going into more of more into batch processes, and the best process to use when it comes to asynchronous options and deeper Apex performance implications, troubleshooting techniques, and more into Lightning frameworks, etc., etc. Platform developer 2 is it also requires a project, some trailhead modules that you have to complete, etc., etc. But it's a really good certification as well, because it really on the learning side, it goes quite ahead, and goes quite deep. So, but do it at the right time. Don't rush into it. Be good with your coding skills. Have a passion for it. When you have delivered enough, then start transition. Start giving your platform developer to. Many of the concepts may be the ones that you will learn already in your initial journey as a coder. So that will make it easier to give your platform developer to. A note over here, same exact note as what I had for admin. As you go along, you may feel that there are more certifications that you could just give according to your your environment, according to the type of clouds that might be used by by your market, by your industry. I'm going to go ahead. Okay, Salesforce Architect. Now, before I go ahead on this, this is that stage which comes at, again, whether you started off as an admin, you started off as a developer, you spend some years in the Salesforce world. You are pretty familiar with how it works. You are very easy with it. You understand the data model. You understand the programming paradigm. You understand the way businesses use Salesforce. You can start moving up ahead in the chain and go, if you feel like, if you're inclined towards, you can start moving towards a Salesforce architect. But before I go ahead, what's an architect anyways, right? You could have, there are different types of architects even in the Salesforce world. It really just depends on, in the place where I work at, for instance, we have data architects, we have solution architects, and then we have technical architects. So, what we are prescribing over here is assuming a technical architect path, but it could be that along the way you could become an architect, at a data level, or perhaps a solution architect. That is something you will figure out on the way. What we are showing over here is basically a prescriptive path towards becoming a Salesforce architect, a technical architect per se, right? Somebody who has a view and a sense of the much bigger picture of a solution from a technical aspect. He would understand the solutioning part. He would understand, or he or she would understand the solutioning part, the performance implications, the integrations, and the context in which the company is operating. Maybe the ecosystem allows for certain things and does not allow for certain things. So the architect would have a sense of that too. And typically they would be very easy at a hands-on level on the Salesforce platform, whether it be the declarative side or the customization side. So this is a stage which ideally a technical architect would be somebody who reaches a stage where they are covering all of these areas or are familiar with it and understand the company context. So look at this pyramid, right? I took this from from the Salesforce documentation on certifications, right? And you can go and read about this even more. But I like this pyramid because it kind of gives a sense of how you ascend the ladder, how you ascend the pyramid. There's the left side over here, and there's the right side on the bottom side. So three sections over here. I'm looking at the bottom section. And in the bottom section, on the left side, we have platform app builder, platform developer 1. So typically this would be a developer, typically, right? And they would be giving, they would have given their app builder, the developer 1, and they are, they do a lot of coding, customization, and they have now started to, they understand the deeper aspects of the data model, of the sharing and security model, as it pertains to data in the Salesforce ecosystem. So they start giving the sharing and visibility architect exam, which is pretty deep, but very interesting on how the sharing model works as it pertains to viewing data at a record level based on various roles and permissions, etc., and rules, and these various mechanisms by which it should be determined whether a particular record or set of records needs to be made viewable or editable uh, to certain types of users. And it's a very deep area. It's very interesting as well. So that is something that they become familiar with by giving this certification. And then there's the data architect. As the name suggests, they understand the data model. They are deep into it. They understand from a design aspect what is best. They understand the scope. They understand the limits, etc., etc. Once they give these certifications, they automatically acquire the application architect. On the right side, similar pattern. There is one overlap at least. You have given the developer 1 certification. You give your integration architect, where you understand integration patterns along with Salesforce. Identity and access management is basically single sign-on. And then development lifecycle and deployment architect is basically your lifecycle management, your deployment techniques, etc., etc. Giving these 4 make you a system architect automatically. I'll move on to the next screen and I'll come back over here. This table is basically just this, right? It describes the lower section for the most part. I have in here a required checkbox, the certifications that I described. I also included in here JavaScript Developer 1 and Platform Developer 2, which are recommended, not required to be a technical architect, but recommended. If not JavaScript Developer 1, I highly recommend Platform Developer 2. Personally, I don't even know why Salesforce did not make this a requirement. Personally, I think they should have. But this certification really helps understand Salesforce from a deeper perspective, as it pertains to the customization domain and the data model and limits and performance and many of the things that you might have to do to perform synchronizations with external systems, etc. So my strong recommendations to definitely do Platform Developer 2 if you are on a technical architect path. But the rest of these certifications are basically the same as the bottom section over here. Now, let me come. Now, this bottom note over here, right? And their time frames. As you progress towards your architect path, notice you start with app builder, you go to 0 to 1 years for a general developer, you go 1 to 2 years at a higher level of a developer, you start transitioning 2 to 3 years to data and integrations and sharing and visibility, security, all of those. and then 3 to 4 years, you get into some of the more miscellaneous areas in Salesforce, identity access management, dev lifecycle SSO. You do all of this assuming that you are in a dynamic, fast-paced environment. If that is the case, if you are in a market where solutions are being delivered quickly and you are deep into the technical side, I think a 4-year time frame is pretty good for you to become an application architect and a system architect. Now, beyond this, I would like to read this note below, and then I will come back to this technical architect. I will read this out. After the above, meaning once you are through this entire stage, after you complete the certs above, and once you acquire significant experience in the Salesforce market, you can give all the exams in the world, but you can only utilize it best and you can understand it best and you will be comfortable in all sorts of situations if you are coupling it with experience in the Salesforce, on the Salesforce side, in Salesforce market, in the industry, in the domain. So once you have done both, you complete your certs and you have acquired good experience in the Salesforce market, you can start targeting preparation of the CTA exam. Okay, now what is that? It's an exclusive club that requires a lot of exposure and communication skills before you can even consider attempting the exam. It includes written exams and presentations. I will come back to the pyramid. This is what I'm talking about at the top. Okay, now let me clarify something. You could be a technical architect by not giving any of these certifications. You are good enough in your market, you're good enough in your role. You basically, according to the company context, you climb the ladder and you could become a technical architect. That is fine. There is no prescription that says that you have to have these certifications to become a technical architect. I personally am doing a lot of technical architecture while I'm an application architect and I'm half of the system architect over here, but I've enough of an experience to basically start doing a lot of technical architecture, and that is okay. There is nothing wrong with that. But since we are giving a prescription based on a way in which you can target your career growth, and Salesforce has a good certification structure to get to the technical architect level, it is good to also think of it this way: how to become a technical architect and cover all aspects, right? So I'm going to come back to the top section over here. Your technical architect, from a certification, Salesforce certification point of view, is what I have described in the yellow bar over here. Once you give all of these certs, Salesforce provides the opportunity for you to sit for the technical architect exam, which is a combination of a written exam and you appearing in front of a panel of judges where they will give you a technical scenario which you are going to have to solve in front of them. They're going to ask you questions, they're going to grill you for like, I don't know, half an hour, 45 minutes, or 10 minutes, depending on how long it goes, and then make a judgment call on whether you should be given the technical architect certification. Again, don't get confused. You could be a technical architect in your company, but this is the technical architect certification that we are talking about in the Salesforce world. This is a pretty exclusive club. I don't know the exact number, but there are a very handful of them. I think, if I'm not wrong, I think they go into many hundreds, but in the entire world, there are probably like many hundreds or something. But there's some figure like that. where there are tens of thousands of Salesforce developers and other roles. This, CTS certified from Salesforce are only a fraction of them. It is a difficult exam. It requires a lot of preparation, but it's only difficult because a lot of people basically just walk into it without gaining enough exposure, right? So let me elaborate on what I mean. I personally spoke to one of the judges. It's basically a person who sits on the panel of judges for certified technical architect. One of those 3 or 4 people, or however many, in front of whom you have to appear after your written exam and provide uh, and explain provide the answer to the question they ask. But this is what he explained to me as well, right? Is that once, to become a good technical architect, right, put yourself in difficult situation, get yourself out of the comfort level where you are out, comfort zone, challenge yourself. um, Perhaps you might want to become a consultant at some point, and take projects where you are forced to um, face situations and provide solutions, and um, get into areas where you are being questioned and challenged and put down, and you have to rise back up and um, you know provide that guidance and direction to build a successful solution for a particular organization, and then move to another organization where you are doing the same. You are going project to project. You are really um, milking Salesforce to its maximum capacity. You are exposing yourself. You are gaining that level of experience. And as you are doing that, you don't even know, but you are preparing for the Certified Technical Architect exam, because that's what it's about. Certified Technical Architect is not your typical book where you are opening up and you are going through a tutorial. This is something where you have faced the real world as it comes to Salesforce, exposed yourself, built your experiences, and learning all along the way, and then preparing yourself for this technical architect exam. Um, so this is what this top area is about. It's an exclusive club. Um, if you aim for that, if you get to that level, if you are able to successfully go through it, then your value in the market, of course, increases multifold, because you're part of an exclusive club of people who are going to be very much in demand all over the world. So this is basically this top section, which you can aim for if you get thrilled by Salesforce and you make that your bread and butter, if you make that your basically your career mission. So that's basically all there is, right? On a concluding note, I will basically say before we go to Q&A is that, like I mentioned earlier as well, um, roles are many in the Salesforce, in all the Salesforce side. These are not the only roles. There could be, you get into the market, you could become a hybrid of all of these, or you could be a hybrid of a couple of these areas. You will have to make judgment calls along the way. You don't have to stick to these prescriptions, but I think these are good things to look at. These are good prescriptions to follow. Um, Overall, in a general way, maybe you might want to adjust it accordingly, but all in all, um, you know follow these directions. I'm sure these will take you on a success path. So with that, uh, I would open it for Q&A. Mohammed, you could take over if you would like. Mansoor, you could also please chime in. I'm also here for Q&A. So please go ahead. Mansoor, you can probably moderate if you like.
So guys, any question you have? So yeah, whatever
Well,
been discussed over here from the Samir side, right? Just a kind of an introduction for those folks who haven't been seen any CRM, but yes, CRM plays a vital role in our routine life, actually, you know. So if you are talking to any customer representative on the phone to resolve your queries regarding your cable, your cellular phone inquiries, right? These are all being dealt uh, with the CRM actually, right? So this is actually a typical example of the CRM that we are being handling. And of course, Salesforce provide different clouds, as Samir mentioned, sales, service, experience. So sales is considered to be like if you have a product, if you are selling something, you are selling a tap over there in the market, right? It needs to be it needs to be sold out in different regions, different part of the world, right? It could have different campaigns to be get run. It could have been sold out different product in a different region with a different cost. All these sort of things being maintained over there. You have a sales team over there that actually deals lot of stuff, right? To manage a successful deal to the customers, right? And when the things will be going to be sold out, whether it's a company, whether it's an individual, all being play a vital part, right? So if there will be any after sales service need to be get provided, then there will be a service cloud gets in action, right? Of course, that service cloud is the same which you use whenever you are inquiring, you are registering a case over there, you are calling a service agent on the phone, on the helpline, or you are just being sending an email to a customer service that hey, I have having that issue on that. So all will be dealt by this single CRM system, right? Which of course we are just discussing is the Salesforce, right? So yeah, it's been a brief introduction, right? Salesforce is now being a platform at the moment, right? In which, as Samir mentioned, that we have to capitalize its power, whatever been bundled inside, which is the out of the box. We have to have a good product knowledge initially, right, to get an expert on that, so that whenever there will be anything going to be come up as from the client's perspective, what we need to do is that we need to just have a point and click sort of situation. We just need to configure on the fly. And the last result will be the customization, which is the coding actually, you know, and to have a kind of
Mohammed, are you still with us? I think there might be a connection loss. But yeah, I'll just take over from here. If any one of you have any questions, please chime in. Please mention. But yeah, I think I know what he was trying to say. Essentially, is that as the solution, still, Salesforce is a strong product. CRM is a strong product, and we are, its power, like Mohammed mentioned, is only growing. It has a lot of market right now. It has a growing revenue, despite the fact that it's been out there for quite a significant time. Um, it's I don't see it close to being saturated. There's a lot of opportunity out there, and many industries are also realizing its power, and they want to utilize it. They want to adopt it. So yeah, I think Mohammed is back. You can continue, Mohammed. I think you may have lost
Yeah,
connection.
sorry, my laptop battery gets drained off, and I didn't have any realization on that. So sorry about that. So yeah, it is now becoming a platform in which you can code, you have to build, and as you mentioned, as your experience gets grow, right, you have more grip on that, right, and of course, as any other tech stack in which we are being developing ourselves. We are always being a learner, right? So Salesforce are coming up with tremendous changes. Uh, every year we will be having 3 different releases, and all these releases have a bundle of documentation comes up along with that, right? And that would be a kind of a feature actually being add on. Some of the features are being add on, some of them are obsoleted actually, and yeah, the enhancements are coming and growing. Salesforce acquiring lots of other ventures as well, right? In which it has the capacity to be get absorbed into them, right? And yeah, this is actually what the whole soul is. One thing that I would like to mention to the people who are in Pakistan specifically, this industry has a very bright future, right? Salesforce has a very bright future across the board. The the financial figures in which we are being earning are way better than any other tech stack nowadays because it's not been saturated at the moment, right? So people can be encouraged to get into it, try to get trained using the trailheads over there, and yeah, this is what my tip is. And of course, if anyone would like to connect and get the details that how someone can practice it, we are available to help them out, right? So yeah, that's it from my end. So any questions?
So I believe we do have a question. I don't know if that has been answered because I was focused on something else. But can we start our career as a Salesforce developer, and does it include excessive coding? So has that been answered?
No, it hasn't. So yeah, I can take that. Yeah, you absolutely can. And that was, I'll just quickly share again. The portion where we were earlier, where essentially we were talking about the various paths. If you see, this is the developer path. You don't have to be an admin first. You can. I personally was never an admin. You could start with as a developer. Your but in terms of learning, I would suggest rather than jumping to the coding part first, which is platform developer 1, I would strongly suggest doing something like platform app builder first, because that will make you familiar with the platform. It will get into the data model. It will get you to the point and click tools, and make you easy with it. You will develop your understanding of the Salesforce platform with this first certification, right? Once you are done with that, then go to platform developer 1, which is coding, right? And that's what you and this is all about coding. That's what this is, platform developer 1, and the limits in the system that you will have to take care of when you are coding, your efficient techniques, algorithmic aspects, performance aspects, etc., etc. So yeah, to answer the first part of your question, you can absolutely start as a developer. Second question, I think you had, second part of your question was, does it involve excessive coding? So if you look at it holistically, in then the Salesforce world, say you are a developer and you are delivering applications, and let's take an average. Say you develop applications for a couple of years. Half of the time you will be using declarative programming, which will be point and click tools, minimal code or no code, right? And maybe the other half you might be customizing, and that's just a very general average. That may not even be the case. It will depend on the type of environment you are, or you may be building an application that is heavily customized. So it really just depends, right? If it's a heavily customized application, suppose it's a application that it takes 2 years to build and most of it is customized, then of course you will be doing excessive coding. But Salesforce offers a whole lot of things can be achieved simply with point and click, where you may not need to customize, right? So I would say on an average, if you want an answer on excessive coding, I would say it's somewhere in the middle.
Okay, great. Thank you. So is there any other question before I start with my own questions? Because I do have few for the experts. Okay, so I don't see any other questions. So I'm gonna go over my own list. So everybody, Samir and Muhammad, they are interested in, how much they can make. At the end of the day, most of the people look at that number, right? So based on what you guys have seen so far, which role should they target in terms of like highly rewarding, highly paid, highly respected role? Which would help them earn the most, I
Yeah.
guess.
So I would like to share you two typical roles that we usually see in this consulting industry for the Salesforce. One is the developer or a technical role usually, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the
Mm-hmm.
other is the functional, right? Which is nowadays a kind of a techno-functional sort of thing, in which people are making point and click, which is like an app builder sort of situation, in which the automation part being covered by the functional guys. They do not code at all, right? They do not write the triggers or the
Mm-hmm.
Apex codes or any LWC or an Aura being developed by them, right? So these are typically being focused more towards the development or technical side. So the technical side is more worthful actually in the industry.
Mm-hmm.
We do like to have more technical folks, and yeah, technical folks are more worthful because they are being having a good product knowledge. Number one, in their bag. Along with that, they have a power to customize things if something is not being coming up with the out of the box, right? So so the so the uh, so the industry would like to have a technical folk more than any functional or any administrator guy. So technical guy is usually getting more, earning more than the functional consultant. But yes, there are being functional consultants who are
Mm-hmm.
being moving ahead in their career, and they are going towards more toward the solutioning parts, right? More solutioning, more depth in the product knowledge. They are being engaged with in the requirement session, the requirement gathering session, and they actually propose them how it can be actually being delivered. Actually, the ultimate product would be, because it's been a combo of functional guys and a technical guy to deliver an implementation. So the short answer of your question is actually technical folks are getting more and more worthful in the industry rather than
Mm-hmm.
any other role that we have. So yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
I see. Great. So my next question is more, think about somebody embarking upon Salesforce project, very first project, or somebody is wondering about, what day to day looks like on a Salesforce developer job, right? Or how does a Salesforce project execution look like? So can one of you or both of you summarize for a newbie that, okay, a Salesforce project implementation from point A to point Z, this is how it looks like. What is the typical role of a Salesforce developer? How does their day-to-day look like? What do they work on? What do they write? What do they touch? What do they customize? Do they interact with admins? Like try to paint a picture just to give them some idea what a day-to-day would look like on a Salesforce project for them.
Yeah. Mohammed, you want to take that, or I could take that?
Samir, you can answer this, right? If I would like to add, then
Okay.
I will add. Right?
Okay, sure. Not very different than really a developer who is building an application in more in other technologies, right? You would have same sorts of development cycles. Your organization would still be choosing to implement the same kind of their strategy on delivering software will not really change with the choice of Salesforce or any other technology per se. Salesforce would not change anything in terms of that life cycle or the techniques or the methodologies. Suppose they're using agile techniques to make the solution move forward. Salesforce wouldn't really change that in any way, right? But coming back to from a day-to-day perspective for a developer, again, not very different from any other technology. They may have some levels of interaction with, perhaps if the organization has more granular roles where they're saying, well, declarative functionalities and point and click are going to be handled by so and so other roles. A coder will really is just being expected to just do the customization portion, the core coding portion. Then there'll be interaction between on a day-to-day basis from between the coder and somebody who is focused more on point and click delivery. They will have to coordinate stories between them. They will have to know the dependencies in a typical Scrum cycle. So greater level of coordination over there, but there may be organizations where there's not really that demarcation, right? There may be you as a coder. It's okay if you go and do point and click stuff as well. You're just saying, hey, just build the application. You're fine. You're a coder. You're customizing. But if there's stuff that you have to do declaratively, go ahead and do it. You don't really have to have another role do it per se, right? So, except for that kind of interaction that may be between the declarative and the custom side, everything else is very much typical to any other kind of technology that is being used for delivering a solution. It goes through the same kind of QA cycles, the same kind of peer reviews and code reviews and architectural reviews. Even at the level of deployment, it's the tools may vary between Salesforce and other some of the other platforms and technologies that are out there. Some tools which may make it easier on the Salesforce cloud side, but the processes are all the same. So that's your developer working through the solution, working through the structures, delivering perhaps in an agile manner, QA people testing it, going through UAT, feedback, demos happening, things being sent back for getting fixed, going through an UAT cycle again, perhaps if something really gets messed up, smoke testing, and then finally getting into production. Your production may see a pilot set of users if it's a complicated push, perhaps a beta version, and then moving full-fledged. That's typically your cycle.
I see. Okay, great. Now, my third question is more about the cost. The cost involved. If somebody wants to get certified as an application architect versus system architect, right? So roughly how much cost in terms of dollars he or she would incur to become an application architect or a systems architect? Ballpark.
Each certification that we see, I'll quickly share again, just because it will make it easier for the audience. Let me actually go here to the pyramid, right? In the bottom section are the bulk of your certifications. Each of these certifications, I don't know the most recent rate, but typically they may be, they're about $200 for one certification, or maybe even less. In some cases it might be like when I started off, the first one I gave was maybe $100, right? I know more of the recent one. The more recent ones have been $200.
Okay.
So the ballpark is usually this, right? It spans in a few $100s for each certification. But the most important, another important, not the most important, another important thing is that when you give a certification, like say I give Platform Developer 1, which is what is listed over here. You know, I may give the initial cost of maybe $200 or so for the certification, and again, I might be wrong. It may be a little different. But once you give that certification, you have to maintain it 2 or 3 times a year, depending on the releases. So there's a release exam that you have to give, which is very simple, very straightforward. It's a take-home thing. You can finish it in 30 minutes. It's not really graded in that sense. You just have to complete it. So it's not, the release exams are not your typical exams. They are just updates per se that you have to complete. They are free. You don't have to give anything further. So once you give this certification, the initial cost of, for example, $200 or anything else, anything a bit different than this, you are done with the cost for that certification. For the release exams, 2 or 3 times a year, there is no cost.
I see. Okay.
Unless you, yeah, I'm sorry, one more note over here. That is what I described is characteristic of most of the exams, most of the certifications that are in the Salesforce world.
I see.
The only exception is this exclusive club at the top. That is a much larger cost, but you will also be at that stage where you would have probably made a whole lot of money, and you'll be a pretty rich guy by then, right?
Right.
Right. So you would then be willing, perhaps at that stage, to be spending that amount of money. That is a different level. It goes into thousands and such. But that wouldn't be a typical scenario. Your typical scenario will be here in the bottom.
Exactly.
The majority of Salesforce certifications are pretty affordable.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah.
So
to add in that, the cost wise, usually it will be from starting from 200, and then there are some specialized ones, some more certificates being on 201 as well. There are some certifications which are costing $400 as well. And yeah, the CTA architect CTA certification is almost $6,000, right? Which is actually sometimes, most of the time, actually, you need to travel over there as well in front of jury as well. And yeah, it's been something you need to present on their provided requirement actually at that time, and you have not much time for that. Other than that which I would like to add over here is that companies are being sponsoring actually, like my company in which I'm working. I've been worked on the companies who would like to have the partnership level to be get increased by taking the points as well, right? So if I am being in the partner portal of registered with that company, and if I am achieving any certification, actually, it gives a reward to the company as well, along with my own portfolio as well. So my company is providing me and bearing the cost for the certifications as well, and same as some other companies as well. And some of the companies set some kind of milestones for their consultants as well, that hey, you need to complete that many certification, or at least that certification, special certification, at the end of that quarter or the end of this fiscal year, or likewise, right? So there are been targets being set so that their own upgradation is going to be happen, and of course the appraisal is also being relied on that. So yeah, just I like to add that as well. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. And I promise that's going to be the last question, and that's for Mohammed. I mean, since most of the audience is from Pakistan, might you be able to summarize for them the Salesforce adoption, the overall Salesforce demand in the Pakistani market?
Yes, nowadays, because the work is coming most of the time offshore, right? The companies who are in US, UK, Canada, Australia. I'm working in an Australian company, actually, So they are actually been reaching out in our region, actually specifically in Pakistan, to have a lesser cost to be bear, and yeah, which is actually been good for us, actually, because their lesser cost is actually a good cost for us, actually, right? So if we are being given uh, almost $20 to $30 an hour, right, and they are being charging their client almost $60 to $100 an hour, right? It is not benefiting only them, but yeah, us as well, right? So nowadays the demand is increasing more and more. Uh, my company is also seeking some professionals which are being trained in the Salesforce, right? We are being hunting every day that we find some good folks to work with us. So the demand is increasing day by day as more work is coming on to their shoulder. Because in the other part of the world, the like Australian market, like UK or UAE or US, right? The business are actually being diverting or sorry, converging towards the Salesforce and adopting it as a CRM, actually, because if it is nowadays being more popular and getting more popular. So the consulting companies like our company or any other company is taking more professionals to be get on board. So the demand at the moment is too high. People are getting paid uh, with with the great numbers, right? I would say. And yeah, it's unlike the traditional Java or .NET or any other tech stack guy, right? uh, is earning nowadays, right? So yeah, the demand is high and the pay is very high as well. Yep.
So if you were to just give some ballpark idea, right? A fresh Salesforce developer, right? Versus a one with 5-year experience, how much salary are we talking about in
It all
Pakistani
depends.
rupees?
It all depends, but yes, I would say in 5 years, I've seen people who have spent 5 years on that. They are getting more than 0.5 million rupees a month, right? More than that, and it is all depend on the work, which is I believe is way good than any other traditional uh, uh, technology in which people are working on, right?
I mean,
So yeah, it is. Yeah.
did you say 1.5 million or 0.5 million?
Point 0.5 million, more than 0.5 million, more than zero point 0.5
Okay,
in a 5 experience, right? It is more than
okay.
it. Some people are getting 1 million as well in 5 years, right? So
Per
all in
month.
all, they're
That's
per
per
month,
month.
yeah, from
Okay.
0.5 million to 1 million per month. Yes, you are right.
Amazing.
Yep.
Amazing. Great.
Yep.
Okay.
But it
Find
all
me a
depend
job, my
on
friend.
yeah, it is all
Find me a
depend on the
job.
skills that yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So it is all depend on the skills that you actually develop over here, and and the speed of doing things over there. It is all about your 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 understanding, your product depth, how you are being updating yourself with all the release come across, right?
Right.
The certification also plays a good vital role on top of them as well. So
Right.
all in all, I believe it is worthwhile at the moment. I'm not sure
Okay.
what would be after a year or 2 years, but
Mhm.
at this particular moment of time, yeah,
Mhm.
we are
Okay.
desperate to hire professionals at any
Okay,
cost, right?
great.
Yeah.
So the audience which are listening to you, should they submit their resume to you if they have some Salesforce experience? I mean, would you be
Yes,
able
of
to
course.
connect them? Okay, great. Awesome. I mean, good to know.
Yes,
Thank you.
absolutely.
Thank you
Yes.
so much. I mean, unless the audience have any other questions or unless, experts want to add more to just bring it all together, I think we are done here. Samir, do you have anything to say, Mohammed?
No, nothing more. I would just best wishes. I hope if you choose Salesforce, then it will you go on the path of success.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would
Mohammed?
like one thing to add. Yeah. If you would like to boost your career, I think you guys should jump in Salesforce. It is tremendous. It is very lucrative, right? You just cannot work only in Pakistan. you have a very, if there are people who would like to work abroad, right? So
Mhm.
usually it takes in other platform, it takes more time to get over that level, right? But in Salesforce, I just heard today one of my colleague was saying that, hey, one of my colleagues spent only 1.5 years and now moving to Dubai to have a work over there, and they are paying him good actually, you know.
Wow.
So yeah, if someone would like to explore the other part of the world, Salesforce is really good to have. And I've seen in my career, right, people were just spent 2 or 3 years, are now working for PwC in US, or
Wow.
Accenture in US or in Australia.
Mhm.
They are all being blessed by of Salesforce. I would say they cannot do that in another platform. But yes,
I see.
it is lucrative.
I see.
It is lucrative. I would like to people to get some training on that and
Mhm.
engage with some of the organization over here. And yeah, their career will be definitely flourishing, right? uh, it is amazing to work in the Salesforce. And yeah, and once you are in, you enjoy working in that. Actually, that is what my promise is actually, you know. So yeah.
Right. This is great. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much both. And thank you to everybody that joined the conversation. Please feel free to reach out on Discord or WhatsApp, and we'll be able to answer your questions. Once again, thanks a lot, everyone, and have a good night and have a good day. Assalamu
Thank you.
alaikum.
Thank you. Walaikum salam. Thank you.
Thank you.